Good morning, good evening, good night, happy Friday, and welcome to our current unnamed podcast. The name is TBC, it's currently in development. We've had some fantastic ideas. So just to introduce myself, my name is Adam Naylor. I am the business program leader here at Hull College, business lecturer, and to be honest, I'm just a business guy, really. I'm the guy to go to for business.
The guru.
The business guru. I won't quite go that far, but I am very much that business guy. I'm responsible for level 1, 2, and 3. So I deal with a lot of different elements of business. I'm joined today by two students and our lovely technician, Alice Godber. Alice, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm Alice. I'm on the PGC currently at Hull College, and I'm working with a selection of art and design students. I do a lot of podcasting and audio production, and I think that is why I'm here today.
Yeah, she is the glue that holds us all together, so to speak. So I'm joined by two of my level 3 students. We have Anton, we have Charlotte. So Anton, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Anton, and I am studying business level 3. Very proud to be a part of it. And yeah, I mean, at this course we learn all sorts of things, not just, how to sell things to people that don't want to buy products and stuff, but we just learn about like how international trade affects businesses, company cultures, everything business related, everything, no matter how small or how big.
Lovely.
Hello everybody, I'm Charlotte and I also study on the level 3 business course.
Brilliant. The reason why I sort of asked you guys here, so just for the purpose of those that are listening, so Anton and Charlotte are two students that are very new to the college. They started with us in September, joining the level 3 business course directly. They are somewhat of high flyers in terms of academic achievement. So they received very high grades in their GCSEs, which means that they would essentially have the pick of any sort of further education institute that they wish to go to. But thankfully and luckily for the college, they chose to join us, which is something that I'm very grateful for. What I am quite keen to know is what attracted you to the college?
Okay, so I think the main attraction was the distance actually from where I live, but also the course just fit perfectly to what I needed at that time.
Yeah, that's a humongous element as well. I suppose less travelling, for you. I am quite lucky in that retrospect that it only takes me 8 minutes to get home and to and from college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So moving on to Anton then. So same question as Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Why Hull College?
Well, Hull College, why? Because, it was kind of the only college that accepted me because of my age. Because I joined this college last year in September 2022.
Yeah.
And back then I was 18 years old. Was I? No, I was 19 years old. Yeah, sorry, I was 19 years old. I did try to get into other colleges, but they all refused me due to my age and stuff.
Oh, that's a shame, but I'm still very glad that you managed to join us, and that sort of goes in line with the whole college ethos that everybody gets a fair opportunity regardless of age.
It's a very good idea, and it's very fortunate that this institution exists for people like me in my situation. And besides, I do have plans currently to go down the road to university and stuff, so obviously I need to do a good job with business course, get all those distinctions and all that stuff, which I think I can manage. I mean, not too hard, but not too easy. But then again, I am a very, what will be the right word? I mean, well, first of all, I'm kind of versatile, and I do have that willpower to push through. So through sticks and stones, I will reach my goals.
You will absolutely reach your goals, and you have such a incredible perseverance when it comes to your assignments, and obviously not going into a whole lot of details about your written work and all that good stuff, but you are one of those that I can tell just by reading your work that you take great pride in what you do, and which is absolutely fantastic. And same with you, Charlotte. Just for the purposes of the audience, a previous unit that we completed was Unit 5, and it was all in regards of international business. One of the assignments was a written assignment just based about globalisation, how that affects an organisation, where the students were required to compare that to another organisation. We anticipated a word count of roughly around 2,000 to 3,000, give or take, depending on the elements involved in that. Charlotte, would you like to just confirm how many words you had in your assignment?
For the record?
Just about 15,000.
Just about 15,000,
Wow.
Nothing too much. 15,000, yeah.
Bit overboard.
It was a fantastic piece of work. It was bigger than my dissertation. Yeah, so
It was a bit bigger than my dissertation. I'm on my third degree now. That's probably more than I've all of them. That's good though.
It was an absolutely outstanding piece of work from the pair of you, actually. And the reason why I asked you both to sort of take part in this podcasting experience, because I think it's something really rewarding that you guys absolutely deserve and would very much be able to take to new ground. So moving on to sort of another reason then. So obviously you chose Hull College to join us. Now, what have you liked about Hull College so far?
I mean, so far, I've only been here for like a couple months, really, and only attend college like 3 times a week. But so far, I have to say that in general, so far, looks good. I can see like a lot of potential here, and not that much to criticize, although there are some points I do want to bring up. But in the meantime, just some positive things, really. Like, for example, the teacher that I have, like the only teacher I have, does a good job.
That's me, by the way, for those that are listening. That's me.
Again, like one of the things I like about my teacher, who's in this room here, is that not only does he do a good job at actually educating you, like he does a really good job at interacting with the students, like getting them to talk and stuff, especially the shy ones. Not only can he make you learn stuff that's actually useful and kind of like you need to know because it's business, but also really good at interacting on like a personal, like a social level. So yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, and I suppose that sort of reverts back my my reasonings for the way that I teach is I remember being 16, 17, 18, and I was a student at Wyke for a year, and I failed. I then moved to Wilberforce, where I failed twice. And the reasons for that, I just did not connect, really, to both the course and the teachers. And obviously, I think like when you don't quite have that connection, you don't quite have that sort of enjoyment of being in college, then college becomes a chore rather than a place that you want to be, because we all have goals, and a lot of students your age will have goals for like university or higher apprenticeships, etc., etc. There's lots of different options for you guys, but it's also about going through the motions as well, about being able to sort of achieve what you need to get in order to get onto that next step. And I am very big on making sure that I know my students. Not personally, like I don't need to know the ins and outs of your life. It's none of my business. I don't need to know every single inkling about your life, but I also sort of need to know who you are and what makes you tick, so to speak.
To know enough to know where to focus on.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose that kind of comes in with a bit of the demographic from the students of Hull College. Let's sort of call a spade a spade. We are a college in the city centre of Hull, which is a deprived area. A lot of students come with us with some form of baggage, which means that you do have to connect with them in a certain different way. This isn't. We are not a private education institute where our students are very affluent and have all the sort of emotional and physical support that they need. A lot of students come to us who are in very much dire need of that support. So it's important for, I think it's not just for me, but for all teachers in general, actually, in this sort of industry, to be able to connect with that, because, not to make this sort of all about me, but it's really important to do so for the benefit of the students.
I can totally agree with that, because I remember like one of my last schools, like the sole reason why I actually started to like study physics and actually take passion in it is because the teacher that was teaching us physics was absolutely an amazing woman. Like, the way she just makes you laugh, and just the way she just explains everything.
Yeah.
Like, forget about reading the textbooks or just watching videos on YouTube. It's like she was just so good at explaining everything, and again, like on an emotional level, like she knew how to get people interested. And because of her, I actually started to study physics, especially when I went back home. Like I would spend my own personal time just to make sure that I understood like the ins and outs. Like I passionately learned physics.
And I think you do that. If you enjoy your teacher, you enjoy your course, and you want to do them proud.
Exactly,
and
like, logically.
That's what I hope from all my students, that they all do me proud in some form, way or another. If my students are making me proud, then I've done the right job. And it's the reason why I got into teaching. It's the reason why Alice is on a PGC, because there's so much potential in the world, and for good and for positive change, and we need to be working towards that.
Oh, absolutely.
What about you, Charlotte? So why Hull College? So I remember interviewing Charlotte many, many months ago. It was on a Saturday open event. It was in the morning.
I believe.
I was very tired. It was a Saturday. Don't blame me. Charlotte came in with your mum.
Yeah.
Yep. And we had quite a lengthy conversation about sort of the options for Charlotte. And I remember you showed me your GCSE result slip, and there was 8s, 9s, 10, 12, 11s, 24s, 133s. There was high numbers, and that's fantastic because obviously you worked really hard for that. But also looking at that from a different sort of point of view, the natural sort of viewpoint of somebody who has them sort of high grades would sort of move on to the more academic sort of education, which things like Wilberforce and Wyckoff are, the A-level route, the T-level route, etc., etc. But you chose us, and which we are extremely grateful. But I'm just curious why.
To be fair, I don't have a solid reason. I did get accepted to quite a lot of other colleges, Wilberforce being one of them, and Wyke. But I think I had a year out after high school due to personal reasons. And I think with that year, it just... I did a lot of research into the different colleges, and it just seemed like this is the best option for me at that time. And it was, thankfully.
I'm very glad with that, yeah. So just a little bit more about Charlotte as well. So Charlotte has quite a heavy schedule. She works a lot. So one of the things that Hull College sort of offer is a bit more of a lenient timetable, so to speak, as well. When don't quote me on this being the same, but when I was a student at Wycombe Wilberforce, I was there 5 days a week, 9 till 4, every single day. Whereas Hull College offers a lot more of a flexible schedule, so to speak. So our current business level 3 schedule is we're in a Monday afternoon, and Thursdays and Friday all day, pretty much, give or take an hour or two. So obviously that fits in with your life, doesn't it? A lot more, which I think. When you again moving back to that demographic about our students, a lot of them do need to work part-time jobs. If we count the hands up of all the students in my level 3 class with part-time jobs and they constantly coming at me saying they struggle for time, then it's the majority. So I think it's important to account for that, and I'm very glad that you found your feet with us.
Yeah.
So what would you say is positive about the college, Charlotte, from your perspective of your experiences so far?
My experience so far, I think there's 2 main parts where this college is above every other school environment that I've had, and that's the teaching. Obviously, amazing teaching.
That's me again, just to brag.
But I think the communication between the students and the teachers, and the fact that you get a lot of one-on-one time as well, will help a lot of students. Especially, it does help me as well. I think just having that time to ask your tutor questions that you need answered, it helps all students to, get better grades and do better in schools. I know personally in high school, I didn't always have the one-on-one. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, I suppose that's a conscious effort from the college itself to have that one-on-one support. I think every student on their timetable has that one-to-one tutorial. Do you have that in your PGC? If I can remember correctly, I don't think we did, but...
Well, you have mentors, don't you, I guess, and with mentors you can have conversations with them about progress and
I suppose the PGCE is so just for the benefit of those that don't quite know what PGCE is. So it's called the Pre-Service Certificate in Education. It's basically a teacher training qualification, which is a year course that you do after your degree, or however you can do it 2 years if you are known as in service. So it's a 9-hour-a-week course, is that right? 9-hour-a-week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Mm-hmm. However, you are expected to do a hell of a lot of hours on placement in order to rack up your teaching hours.
This is quite funny, actually. So on the PGC, you're expected to do a minimum of 100 hours sort of teaching in the classroom. And quite a lot of us now, we're getting to that point, we're like, we've reached 100. We've reached 100 hours. And so we brought that up to our teacher, and they were like, "Well, that's the minimum. Aim for 300." And all of us we just we were like, "Oh wow, okay." I mean, I'm loving it. I'll do as many hours as I can get, sort of thing, But when you first start, you're like, oh, how am I going to reach 100 hours? That seems like so much. But once you get full into the placements and you're sort of in the classroom like every day, like it really does add up. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. So I'm a graduate from the PGC from last year, so I'm sort of relatively fresh out the latest batch of cohorts, if you will. And for me, it was just a full-time job. And in all fairness, I went into the course with the mentality is that this is a full-time job. Do you know, it might be a course just for 3 mornings a week, but at the end of the day, I wanted a job out of this.
Yeah.
I think knowing what you want is good. You know, I wanted a job at the end of this, so I refused to accept anything less. And then a position came available, I applied, and I got it. And I was very grateful. And I think by doing that, by having that full-time mentality, it really worked out really well for me. Similarly to sort of you guys, so as part of the level 3 program, you guys are required to do 60 hours of work experience, haven't you? So as we mentioned before, Charlotte currently has a part-time job, and I think we sort of filter in to use that as quite the majority of that, or if not all of them, work experience hours. Anton, I would like to come to you though. So Anton has been given quite a unique placement with one of the major employers in Hull. So it's a company known as Sewell's, which coincidentally it's a company that I've worked for before, many, many, many years ago. And I was asked by the work experience team to send the best of the best. And I chose Anton because Anton was very, very keen on gaining work experience, even though...
And I'm very grateful, by the way.
Thank you very much. Anton, even though he doesn't quite fall in that age range where work experience is necessary for him to complete his course, complete his studies with us, he was very keen in gaining that work experience, which shows that proactiveness, which sort of sums up Anton to a T, that hard-working, proactive attitude that Anton has. But you received a placement at Sewell, so just talk to me about that. What are they asking you to sort of do, and what you're getting from that?
Well, to be honest, before I entered the main building, I had no idea what to expect. Like, I mean, I had a relatively good understanding of what Sewell's Group did. I mean, they went into like the construction business side of things. But when I entered the building and they explained me what they do, and actually cleared up a lot of my misconceptions. So for starters, on my first day out of 4, they put me in their people's department, which was kind of like this versatile department where they just communicated with the other departments, like the facilities management, retail, construction, yada, yada, yada. Can't remember them all. And the tasks they gave me there, I mean, they were all right. I mean, your usual copy and paste type of work with a few changes there and there. But after that, they sent me to the administration department, which was near reception. And that was actually the most interesting thing I did on that day specifically, because I was given this task to basically sort out, I feel like, these old blueprints. Well, they weren't blueprints because they were actually white, but basically they were prints for buildings.
Yeah.
And a lot of buildings, really, like schools, colleges, hospitals, and they were very detailed. And the reason they gave me this entire box was because they were like, I don't know, like 30 to 25 years old. And I could tell, like, the paper clips, they had, like, rust coming off of them.
Wow.
So they were old. So as I was filling out these documents into their digital system, then the second day, which was, again, the next Wednesday, I was sent to the IT department. Now, as a person who did study IT with a passion, then just kind of dropped it for reasons, I mean, I was kind of worried there because, again, like, I don't know how to program, like, I don't know how to take apart a PC. I can break a PC.
Can't we all?
Yeah, but actually, it was actually surprisingly very interesting. It was kind of like a hands-on experience. Like, the first thing I had to do there was, like, basically disassemble, like, one of these, like, mini computers. I mean, it was, like, again, a computer. It had a motherboard, memory RAM, like a hard drive and everything, but it was like very small and compact because, like again, in Sewell's Group, like the main place where they store all of their data is like these huge like data banks they have in this very big, massive room with like multiple fans in there. Like it was really hot and noisy. So I had to take apart that, not dismantle it, but strip it down, clean it all up, and it was like. I mean, the dirt on that thing, like...
I would imagine I would have absolutely no idea how to take apart a computer nor put one back together. Well, I mean, I could probably take it apart by, throwing it against something.
Well, luckily, again, I'm careful when it comes to these things. Like, again, I wasn't, like, rushing in head first into it. And again, like, well, I was surprised that I did a good job, but hey, I did a good job, so I'm proud of that. And yeah, and also the best thing that happened on that day was when they showed me the 3D printer, and they did ask me like, okay, since we have like an hour left, like, what do you want to build? Like, what do you want to create? And I did ask them to make me a dog whistle, and if I remember correctly, I think I actually have the dog whistle here with me.
So this is just a public service announcement that you may want to put your fingers in your ears just for the next 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Go on, Anton, give it a blow.
This is the dog whistle they made for me. This one is actually the second version. The first one was red, not black, and it just didn't work. So again, in 3 seconds, I'm gonna use this on you.
Thank you for the warning.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that was not as bad as I expected it to be.
That's probably because of the headphones. But again, like, great team they had at the IT department. And also, one more last thing I want to mention about the IT department was that when I entered their room, like, it was in the afternoon, like in the evening, like, for some strange reason, I heard the most odd conversation, and I kid you not, they were talking about how is rice pudding made. Like, they were having like a full-on conversation. No, they sterilize the milk first. No, they cook it all in a can.
And that, guys, is your homework for the week. Because I have no idea.
Anton, I have a question. Why a dog whistle?
Okay. Basically, I remember when I was small and stuff, like, I had a very, very strong fear of dogs. I mean, I'm not afraid of dogs right now. So basically, I remember when I was like 5 years old, I was walking down the streets with my parents, and on our way, like, towards me, there was this guy with this massive bulldog, and I think, like, teeth, fangs out, everything, saliva dripping from the mouth. And I just remember as I was passing it, that dog just looked at me, started coming towards me. Like, it was scary. It was really scary. And ever since then, I just had a very deep fear of dogs. And this is why...
So we got a dog whistle out of it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Wow.
It is why I have a dog whistle.
So obviously you spend quite a lot of time at Sewell's. What was the benefit of that, and in sort of relation to the course?
Well, for starters, I mean, the real benefit kind of started to kick off on my last day this Wednesday when I went to their marketing department. Hallelujah. Right. And, like, again, I got like a very big insight into like how marketing people actually market, how they work on social medias and stuff. And I did throw about some of my ideas because the task I was given was to like figure out like what should our like department leaders write on their like social medias and stuff like that. So I threw a few ideas there and there, and surprisingly, like, the staff there took a notice and actually, from what I've been told, they were willing to implement some of those ideas.
Wow, that is quite impressive, actually. So just for the benefit as well for people that are not in this room, so we between September and January we worked really heavily on a unit in our level 3 business course, which is all about developing a marketing campaign, which was one of your exams, which I know you guys absolutely loved. You know, we all love exams, don't we? But there was a very large, extensive amount of work that put into that. So it's really good to see that you was able to be able to implement some of that knowledge into a natural wildlife workplace as well, especially one that's quite so big as Sewell's, because it's one of the biggest local employers as well. So that's really impressive. And I think that's an absolutely something that's really fantastic.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, believe me, it was like, again, gave me like a great insight into like this world of marketing. I could actually figure out like what works best, what doesn't work. It just, you know.
Yeah, that's it. You know, sometimes things look good on paper, but they don't always actually work in practicality. We all learn about them on a day-to-day basis. So sort of just moving sort of away from sort of the work experience topic then. So we talked about some of the positives of Hull College, and thankfully you both named me. So what would you like to be improved? You know, one of the reasons why I wanted to pull this sort of podcast together is to sort of give you guys that student voice, so to speak, that perspective, because, you know, this college exists to somewhat serve you guys. You are our main stakeholders. You are the reason why this college is open, why us staff work here, etc., etc.
We are the college.
You are the college. You are absolutely the college. You are Hull College, born and bred. So, you know, obviously, whenever we talk about sort of any educational place, there's always positives and negatives. You know, we get that. No place is ever truly perfect. So what would you feel would be beneficial to the college? You know, that could be adding something, changing something, maybe taking something away. What would you feel would be something that would benefit the students at the college?
I know recently me and Anton have been in a meeting with one of the governors of Hull College,
Yeah.
and it did come up in there that there's quite a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently we hadn't actually heard of many apart from doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So maybe just more awareness of the clubs that are there, or more clubs being implemented into the college life.
I agree with that actually as well. Do you know, as I know I'm a member of staff, but I do my master's degree here at Hull College, which also means that I have a student sort of email address, just the same as Alice has and you guys have, and all the other students at the college have as well. And there's not many announcements or sort of
communications of like sort of enrichment activities.
Something to spark
clubs.
the social life of the college, because again, like one of the reasons why I brought up that subject about like clubs and stuff was because like surprisingly, although the college is big and we have lots of students here, like surprisingly we don't know a lot about each other, like not just I mean especially in the separate courses themselves. I know a lot of people in like level 3 and stuff, but I also know we have level 2 and level 1, and we have no idea how they're like.
Yeah, that's I suppose that's a good and a bad element at the same time, because my experience with this is that sometimes people like to stay in their relative bubbles. You know, the level 3s like to stick with the level 3s, level 2s, etc., etc. However, there is also a humongous social element to that as well. Do you know, because we're all students at this college. Just because we're not sitting in the same classroom doesn't necessarily mean that there's no reason why we can't have that social element as well. And I do think that is something that needs to be sort of pushed a lot more.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Definitely.
And I think maybe perhaps the barrier to sort of doing that is probably space, because where would we do this type of stuff? You know, and this type of thing, could we do it in a classroom? It's not going to be big enough. We could do it in the learning lab, which is where we have our level 3 classes. Again, it's not big enough. Do you know, it's a difficult sword to sort of wield, and I don't quite have the answers, and I don't think anybody really truly does. But you know, I do think this social element does need to be included into college. And actually, if you also think about the last sort of 2 to 3 years of cohorts that have joined us at the college from school leavers, they have lost 2 to 3 years of their own social sort of experiences through COVID. You know, the working from home, the lockdowns, the isolations here, there and everywhere. You know, we could sort of rehash all 3 years of the big COVID debate as much as possible. But, you know, let's sort of call a spade, as that students have lost a fair amount of their experience, which would absolutely be setting them up for that sort of social development. And that is sort of one of the core skills. It's something that gets taught in lesson, but it's also something that comes from experience a lot more as well. And it's one of them things that it's not so easy to teach, but it's something that needs to be developed a lot more, is that sort of social skills. So we need to be pushing that a lot more, because I see more and more sort of students coming in to starting with the college, enrolling, doing a cracking job with their academic work, but in terms of their social aspects, they probably need a little bit of development. And my sister's a prime example for that. So she's one of those, like most teenagers these days, she's just glued to her phone, never off her phone, etc. You know? And I think a lot of students are like that as well. It's almost like a comfort blanket for them, and half the battle as a teacher is getting new students to go off your blooming phone. But it's fighting your own battles, so to speak. But, you know, I think there needs to be more of a forceful push on this sort of teamwork ideology that all the students of this college had together. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be these intersectional departments that have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much something that needs to be worked on.
I mean, a great example would be like, remember like last month we had like that event at that other building, the cafe.
Yes, so we had a for entrepreneurs only event, which was just a day for the level 2 and level 3 business students, where they worked with local employers from local entrepreneurs, actually real life business owners, developing a real life campaign. So yeah, just for the context of those at home.
And again, that was that experience did show me that although we were from like different levels, like level 3 business and level 2 business, we were able to interact. Like you saw it for yourself, Adam. Like we all in our little teams. They worked, they discussed with each other. Like again, I mean, not only were they like implementing the knowledge they acquired from their lessons, but they were also using aspects of like, again, this social life, the ability to like interact with other people,
Yeah.
and just, you know, form bonds and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important as well. We want to be making friends. Do you know?
I mean, we're all social beings. I mean,
Exactly.
it's only natural
Exactly.
to know as many people and to have as many friends, because again, like, everyone needs a friend from time to time.
We all need friends.
Yeah.
You got a friend in me.
Oh, I was going to sing. You beat me to it. You beat me to it. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Do you know, we do need to have that element. Do you know, and I always look at that. You guys are currently in the best years of your life.
True.
Between leaving school and probably to the age of about 21, 22, 23, these are the best years of your life. Do you know, you're finding your feet in the world.
Finding ourselves.
You're finding yourselves, you know, you're moving away from that sort of that structure that school gives you, where you have a place to be at a certain time and you have to be there. And whilst college some elements such as lessons, but
it's just a bit more liberating, a bit more.
Yeah, you have a lot more freedom in college than you do at school. So it's really that opportunity to find yourself as well. And and obviously you turn 18 as well, and we all know what happens when you turn 18. You know, you can go into shopping.
Alcohol.
Yes, you know, every teenager goes through that experience, and it's like, and some of you are becoming university students as well. You know, which again are your best years of your life. You know, you're meeting new people. Perhaps you've been moving to different cities, or some people different countries, and you know.
I'll stay here.
I'll stay here with the college. Yeah, do you know, whatever works. Yes, stay with the college.
Stay with
This is not sponsored.
No, we're sponsored by Squarespace. So yeah, it's
not actually. By the way, just
no, don't sue us. So it is these best years of your life, and we want to be making the most of those. So you know, we want to be absolutely giving everyone an opportunity to sort of take advantage of these new freedoms that you have at this age. Because if I remember when I was 16 and I left school, one of the reasons, as I mentioned, why I felt college, as much as I didn't connect with the course, is because I met friends. You know, a lot of my social development came from outside of the classroom. And I would imagine that a lot of yours will too. If not all of it comes from outside of the classroom. And I know that poses the question of like mobile phones and let's be honest, social media is a new way to communicate with one another. And I think that's going to be an endless battle that's probably going to be with us until the end of time about whether or not that's the most right or most wrong way.
Especially how technology is developing nowadays. I mean, with like things like the metaverse and VR things. I mean, it's still a big open question, like how is this going to develop? Like, is it going to be successful? Because the companies like Google are kind of like failing behind that metaverse.
It makes me feel so old whenever I hear anyone say metaverse. It's like one of the only times where I like completely shut down when I hear that word, and then I'm just like, well, like back in my day we didn't have that, you know.
From a teacher perspective, one of the sort of the new things implemented in sort of the world of education is something called like meta curriculum. And I remember the first time I came across that term, and I was like, well, okay, that is a word. That is a word.
Is it related to the Matrix film?
It does certainly feel like that, but you know. Sort of
we've not covered that yet.
You're fortunate. So, sort of keeping in line with the sort of the technology thing. Obviously, social media is a massive influence as well, but also the implementation of this digital technology, which is again is an essential skill that is going to be needed. So, one of the things that I'm currently doing myself as a teacher is I'm trying to build up or rebuild up a business degree course that the college used to run. And what I have done is I've sort of performed some market research with my business students, asking them what areas of units, modules that they'd like to work on. And coincidentally, digital technology so far is the lowest performing, which means that most students are least interested in it. Oh, wow. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's surprising to me because it's also one of the most used things day to day. We all use digital technologies.
Yeah.
We all use laptops.
We all use technology.
We all use mobile phones. We all use social media, and so I found it interesting. I really did. I
found that interesting.
It poses a lot more question. Perhaps that's a different topic for another podcast at some point. The use of digital technologies, but
Definitely.
I do think sort of the technology in whole, not just in education, but the social media and all the different elements has it's drastically changed, the way that we operate. We had social media 10 years ago. When I was, oh my God, I was 19. 15 years ago, when I was 15, we had MySpace. I loved MySpace.
Back when I was your age,
I know.
MySpace.
Oh, Anton, I turned 30 this year. But we had the Facebooks and the MySpaces and the YouTubes.
The Facebooks.
The Facebooks. So when I was 15, but whilst everybody was on it, nobody was on it as religiously as people are on it now, and maybe that's because we didn't have like the Instagrams and the Snapchats and Tumblrs.
Well, it's more like a beginning phase, really, just like with any product. I mean, first you have like this general amount of people who use it, and then it just kind of
perhaps
increases.
I mean, it was still very popular. Everybody and their mum and dad was on it.
But now,
everybody on Facebook. Yeah, but. Usually people had like a Facebook account when they was like 15, 16. Nowadays, I remember my little sister, I think she was 7, and she got collared in school for having a Facebook and a Snapchat account at the age of 7. 7.
Wow.
7 years old, and obviously I suppose that's the way the direction, the way the world
Scary.
is working. It is quite scary, isn't it? 7 years old. I mean, I suppose it's like I said, it's the direction the world is sort of moving on to. These digital technologies and how they are changing our life.
And changing human social interaction.
That's it. But yeah, that's absolutely, yeah, it's also changing different human social reactions. So I feel like you go through, let's say, years of using social media as your main form of communication. And then you come to college where we're sort of trying to teach you how to apply for jobs, interview, phone calls, all that stuff, things that you don't necessarily feel comfortable doing. And here's where the barrier comes in with that. And this is sort of one of the issues in, I suppose, education in general, is getting you guys ready for that step of being workplace ready, having those core employment skills.
Well, from my personal experience, I kind of like this opposite effect, really, because when I was young, back in my day, when I was like 10, 12...
Anton's 19, by the way. He's not old at all.
But I feel though, but basically when I was younger, I mean, I actually didn't use social media at all, like completely. I was very social, and to be honest, really, I actually find like a face-to-face interviews more comfortable, more relaxing than actual like phone calls.
Absolutely.
So yeah, for me it's kind of like an opposite, really. It's like, I hate having phone calls. I just hate because, number one, I mean, usually the connection's not that well. And it's just, it's more awkward, really, in my experience, like not seeing the person who I'm talking to.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I suppose we'll still have that human element, but, social media and digital technologies, the buzzwords, are consistently going to be sort of implemented in our sort of day-to-day life, so to speak. So sort of moving on to sort of the last sort of final thing then. So, Charlotte, you've said about the social element of something that you like to change. Anton, is there anything that you would feel that the college would benefit from, or what the students would benefit?
Well, for starters, like I said, when I was at that meeting with the governor and stuff, he did apparently some of the girls who attended that meeting did say that there were clubs. First of all, I would spread the word about these clubs. I heard about them for the first time in that meeting. So number one, raise awareness about these clubs, these social events. So just in general, have posters everywhere. Yeah. Join this club. I don't know what they have. But just I think what right now what's important really is to spread the word, because I am sure there are other people just like me who have no idea that these clubs exist. And again, as you said, how would the students benefit from this? I can't really speak for everyone, but I think that a majority of people who attend college here would greatly benefit. For starters, I remember when we had remember that FIFA World Cup thing, and when we had the where on the ground floor where all the televisions were playing those football matches. I could see I could tell there were people talking with each other, clearly from different courses. Yeah. And they were just having a good time. So I saw with my own eyes that it is possible for people, not just from different courses, but especially in the same course, but just on different levels, that they can find each other and form connections. And again, I think it would be very beneficial if we raise awareness about these social clubs and events, so we can get more people to talk with each other, to communicate, essentially.
Well, Absolutely, and feel free to pass those comments along to the relevant persons, for marketing. But obviously it's business what we study, so heavily marketing focused quite heavily. So feel free to sort of share ideas and sort of how to do that. Just to sort of wrap us up then. So what the aim of this podcast is to give the students the voice, and the idea is that it's going to be sort of run by two of my lovely level 3 students. Miss Charlotte and Mr. Anton. And we will be looking at sort of introducing different students, staff, perhaps even external, local employers.
Different perspectives on
everything. Absolutely. If you've got an opinion, you're sitting in this chair, and this is all being sort of managed by, I suppose, overlooked by myself, but Alice Godber, who is a PGC student, she's very much the brains behind this whole operation.
I wouldn't get that far, but...
Oh, I would. I wouldn't know how to turn the computer on, don't ask me. So she's very much the brains and the glue that's sort of holding all this project together. So this is something that we would be looking at sort of weekly. So, for those that are listening, if you have any sort of suggestions, ideas...
you want to become visitors here?
Or you want to absolutely join up, absolutely get in touch. So my name is Adam Naylor. You can find me in room 812 in the main tower block. That is where I live. Penthouse Suite, I'm not going to lie. And my email address is adam.naylor@hull-college.ac.uk. You can absolutely get in contact with me if you have any ideas, comments, praise, critiques, anything that you feel would benefit. Please absolutely do get in touch. And also if you've got any ideas for a name, because this is sort of the main bar and we're focusing right now. If you have ideas for a name, please share them. We've had, what did we have, Anton?
We have like the Blue Room / Blue Room Experience.
The Blue Room, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's already been taken.
It's already been taken.
Gutted. Okay, so for context for the listeners, we are in the podcast suite over in the Institute of Arts building, and inside the podcast suite, the rooms are blue.
Very blue.
So that is why we came up with the Blue Room idea. We also have a lava lamp.
We do have and the lava is actually lavaing right now, isn't it?
Oh my god!
I do love a good lava lamp. It reminds me of being like 10 years old.
So we're still open for
absolutely
options,
open for suggestions as well. As well as if there's anything that you would like us sort of discuss on a more sort of open level as well. Obviously everybody's got an opinion about everything. We're all human. If there's anything that you feel that needs to be discussed in detail with the college, please absolutely get in touch, because this is what we're here for. There's no topic that is too much or too little.
We want to hear your voice.
We absolutely do want to hear your voice and your opinion, and also about holding everybody to their accountable. Yeah, absolutely. Students and staff. We're here for a reason, so let's hold us all accountable. So just to sort of wrap up this first one, so thank you very much for listening. So this has been our very first podcast. So pilot technically, yeah. So this has been our pilot, and I think we've from my perspective anyway, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think this has gone brilliantly. We've actually discussed quite a lot, and for the first time, I just want to give my props to Anton and Charlotte for absolutely smashing it. Because I know obviously this is quite an unusual experience for a lot of people, and to be able to come in and do this is absolutely fantastic, and it's nerve-wracking for me. I'm only human as well. I'm
only human.
I'm not going to say nobody.
Yeah, we don't have the music rights.
Yes, we don't. Yeah, that's the excuse. We don't have the music rights, not because I can't sing. So this is incredibly nervous, but to be a young student and to be put in this situation, I think absolutely they deserve their props. And
woo.
Yeah, absolutely. Woo. If I wasn't worried about blowing your eardrums, I'd do a round of applause. But let's not do that. So, but just thank you very much for listening to us. We will be back. Hopefully, we're going to be back next Friday. I'm hoping to have this on as a weekly sort of shenanigan.
This is going to be amazing.
It is. It's going to be a very good project. And have a safe week. Thank you very much.